When I think about the word life, I realize how often we mistake it for the things we own, the places we visit, or the luxuries we surround ourselves with. We think real life is about the sparkling cars, the high-rise apartments, the branded clothes, and the social media smiles. But if you want to truly see life, you need to step away from all of that. Real life does not shine with diamonds. It breathes through struggle, through simplicity, through the quiet dignity of those who fight battles we never even see. Imagine standing on a busy street corner with no wallet, no phone, and no name to protect you. Imagine asking strangers for help and feeling the weight of their silence when they walk past without even looking into your eyes. Imagine sleeping under the open sky, where the stars may be beautiful, but the ground beneath you is cold and hard. That is where real life begins to speak. It speaks not through luxury, but through hunger, through survival, and through the incredible strength of the human spirit. It's easy to believe that people who have nothing are weak, but in truth, they are stronger than most of us can even imagine. They wake up each morning with no guarantee of food, no safety net, no promises for tomorrow. Yet they rise, they try, and they endure. Their courage is not written about in newspapers, and their victories are not celebrated on stages. But their quiet perseverance is a kind of richness that money could never buy. Living without comfort also teaches something many of us forget: gratitude. A single meal feels like a feast, a glass of water feels like a treasure, a kind smile from a stranger feels like the rarest gift in the world. These are not things money can purchase because they carry the weight of sincerity. When you are stripped of status, you begin to see people for who they truly are. Those who ignore, those who judge, and those rare few who give without expecting anything in return. Real life is not about the walls of mansions or the keys to cars. It is about human connection, about the ability to feel compassion, and about the choice to help someone even when you don't have to. Real life is about understanding the value of each small kindness, the importance of humility, and the truth that our worth is not measured by what we own, but by how we love and how we give. Sometimes it takes losing everything, even if only for a little while, to finally see the truth. The truth that the richest people in this world are not the ones with millions in their bank accounts. The richest are those who have resilience, gratitude, kindness, and the courage to keep going no matter how heavy life becomes. That is the discovery of real life, and it is a lesson worth more than all the wealth in the world. When we think of life in its truest form, we often associate it with the external symbols of success: big houses, expensive cars, branded clothes, endless travel, and all the material comforts that seem to promise happiness. Yet real life in its rawest and most authentic state reveals itself not in luxury, but in the moments of struggle and survival that shape a person's character. When someone is forced to step away from the protective layer of wealth and convenience, they begin to experience life the way it actually is for millions of people who live without those privileges. In these moments, stripped of the distractions of material possessions, one begins to understand that the true essence of living is not about what is owned, but about what is endured and overcome. Struggle has a way of awakening the senses in ways that comfort never can. When a person has to search for their next meal, the taste of food carries more meaning than any gourmet dish ever could. Hunger teaches appreciation in a way that no lavish buffet could offer. The challenge of finding a place to rest for the night teaches the value of safety, shelter, and peace of mind. Luxury often blinds us to these simple truths, wrapping us in illusions of permanence, but survival uncovers them and makes them shine more brightly. The smallest victories in the face of hardship become treasures, because they are earned not through wealth, but through resilience. The harsh realities of life without luxury also reveal the true nature of human dignity. When a person faces rejection on the street, ignored by passers-by who avoid eye contact, it becomes painfully clear how society measures worth by appearance and status. Struggle strips away the masks people wear and exposes the honesty of human behavior. There are those who will judge, those who will ignore, and those rare few who will extend a hand. In luxury, it is easy to believe kindness is common, but in struggle, one learns how rare and precious it truly is. The generosity of a single kind stranger, the warmth of a smile, or the gift of a small coin carries more weight than any grand gesture that comes from abundance. Survival magnifies the value of simple compassion. Real life becomes visible in the raw vulnerability of such moments. Without luxury, people are reminded that life is unpredictable and uncertain. They cannot hide behind wealth or convenience. They must face hunger, cold, fatigue, and fear head-on. These experiences become lessons in resilience and strength. They reveal how much humans can endure and how much inner power can be discovered when all else is taken away. While comfort creates dependence, struggle builds strength. In survival, people learn to adapt, to innovate, and to fight for another day. That fight, that refusal to give up despite impossible circumstances, is a powerful reminder of what it means to be alive. There is also a deep truth in the way struggle fosters gratitude. In luxury, blessings are taken for granted, often unnoticed because they are expected. In survival, every small blessing becomes sacred. A piece of bread can feel like abundance, a blanket can feel like heaven, and a kind word can feel like salvation. Real life, without the layers of excess, teaches that happiness is not hidden in abundance, but in recognizing the value of even the smallest gifts. Survival removes the illusions of need created by wealth and reveals what is truly necessary for life: food, shelter, water, safety, and love. Everything beyond that is an addition, not a necessity. By facing hardship, one also gains perspective on the struggles of others. In luxury, it is easy to dismiss or overlook those who suffer. But when a person walks in their shoes, even briefly, empathy grows in the heart. Struggle connects people in ways luxury cannot. It builds bridges of understanding between individuals, reminding us that beneath appearances, everyone carries battles that are invisible to the world. Real life, as seen through the lens of survival, becomes a shared experience of human vulnerability and human strength. It teaches that no amount of money can shield anyone from pain, loss, or mortality. These are the truths of existence that unite all people, regardless of wealth or status. Luxury can be a comfort, but it is never the teacher that struggle is. Survival reveals the reality that life is fragile, uncertain, and often unfair. Yet within that fragility lies beauty and power. The human spirit, when tested, shines most brightly. Real life is not about polished appearances, social prestige, or extravagant possessions. It is about the raw fight to keep moving forward in the face of hunger, rejection, and despair. It is about finding strength in weakness, hope in darkness, and meaning in the smallest victories. Through struggle and survival, people discover not only what life truly is, but who they themselves truly are. Those who seem to have nothing are often assumed to be weak, powerless, and incapable of standing strong in the face of challenges, but the truth is very different. Strength is not always found in muscles, titles, or the ability to purchase comfort. True strength lives in the hearts of those who wake up each day with no guarantees, no safety nets, and no certainty of tomorrow. Yet they still rise, still endure, and still keep going. It is easy to see power in someone who has endless resources at their disposal, but it is much harder and far more meaningful to recognize the quiet and unshakable resilience of those who survive with little more than their will. A person who has everything provided for them may never know what it means to fight for a meal or to struggle through a night without warmth. Yet those who live in such conditions understand survival in its rawest form. They know what it means to stretch a single piece of food as far as it can go, to protect what little they have with determination, and to continue pressing forward even when the world seems to ignore their existence. Their strength is not displayed in grand gestures or public recognition, but in the persistence of waking up every day and refusing to give in to despair. That is a kind of strength that money cannot purchase and privilege cannot teach. Strength is also revealed in the ability to endure humiliation and judgment, to be overlooked, dismissed, or treated as invisible by those who pass by is a daily reality for many who live without possessions. Yet instead of letting that break them, many carry themselves with a quiet dignity. They continue moving forward despite the rejection, despite the harshness of words or the sting of being ignored. To carry one's humanity intact in a world that often tries to strip it away requires a courage that cannot be measured in ordinary ways. Those who appear powerless show the greatest power simply by surviving another day with their self-respect still alive. It is often said that strength is tested in adversity, and nowhere is this truer than in the lives of those who live with nothing. Adversity becomes their constant companion, and through it they develop an endurance that many could not imagine. While others may complain about inconveniences, these individuals face real challenges that cut to the core of existence: hunger, cold, loneliness, fear. Yet they push through, not because they have all the answers, but because they know giving up is not an option. That relentless perseverance is proof of the inner fire that cannot be extinguished by circumstance. The strength of those who have nothing is not only physical or emotional, but also spiritual. There is something deeply powerful about continuing to hope when the world seems hopeless, to smile in the midst of pain, to dream when the future is uncertain, and to believe in the possibility of something better despite overwhelming obstacles. All of these reveal a spirit that is stronger than steel. It is one thing to be hopeful when everything is going well, but it is another to nurture hope in the midst of despair. That kind of strength is extraordinary, and it is found most often in those who have faced life's hardest battles. Another aspect of their strength lies in resourcefulness. Having little forces people to become creative, to find solutions where none seem to exist, to use imagination and ingenuity in place of abundance. Turning scraps into shelter, stretching a small kindness into a day's survival, discovering ways to endure when circumstances seem impossible. These are acts of quiet brilliance that often go unnoticed. Yet this adaptability is a profound kind of power, because it demonstrates the ability to thrive despite a lack of traditional resources. Those who appear to have nothing often carry within them the sharpest skills of survival. There is also the strength that comes from community. When people who live with little share what they have with one another, even if it is the smallest piece of bread or the last sip of water, they reveal a strength rooted in compassion. Supporting each other in hardship demonstrates that strength is not always about standing alone, but also about lifting others in the face of adversity. The bonds formed in such circumstances are powerful because they are built not on convenience, but on necessity and empathy. These connections show that strength is amplified when it is shared. Ultimately, the idea that having nothing makes someone weak is a misconception born of distance and misunderstanding. Those who live without wealth, without luxury, without stability, carry within them a strength that goes unseen by many, but is undeniable when closely observed. It is a strength forged in struggle, tempered by survival, and proven each day by endurance. It is not loud or obvious, but quiet and unshakable, and it is far more powerful than the fleeting strength that comes from money or privilege. It is the strength of those who continue to rise, to endure, and to live with courage even when the world gives them nothing. Gratitude is one of those qualities that often seems simple in words, but reveals its true depth only when life strips away comfort and certainty. It is easy to say thank you when the table is full of food, when there is a roof overhead, and when warmth and safety are taken for granted. But the real essence of gratitude blooms in hardship, in simplicity, and in the moments when even the smallest gift feels like a treasure. When a person is left with little or nothing, they begin to see the true value of things they once overlooked. A loaf of bread is no longer just bread. It becomes nourishment, relief, and hope all at once. A sip of clean water feels like a blessing far greater than any luxurious drink. A kind gesture from a stranger, even something as small as a smile or a nod of acknowledgement, carries weight and warmth beyond what wealth could ever provide. Hardship has a way of sharpening awareness. In times of abundance, people are often blind to the blessings scattered all around them. They walk past a glass of water without noticing its importance, or they complain about meals that others would beg to have. Gratitude remains shallow in such moments because it is not born out of necessity but out of habit. When life becomes difficult, when survival depends on finding joy in little things, gratitude changes shape. It grows deeper, more sincere, and more powerful. The things once thought small become life, giving miracles, and suddenly every moment of kindness, every piece of help, every chance to rest becomes something to be cherished. Simplicity also teaches gratitude in a way luxury never can. Without distractions of excess, a person begins to see what is truly necessary: shelter from the cold, food that eases hunger, and companionship that heals loneliness become the pillars of survival. When these needs are met, even in the smallest ways, the heart feels full. The luxury of endless possessions cannot compare to the relief of having just enough to survive another day. Gratitude grows naturally in such conditions because it is grounded in reality, in the direct experience of need and fulfillment. The appreciation for the essentials of life becomes unshakable, and the individual learns that happiness is not dependent on abundance but on awareness. Gratitude is also discovered in the people encountered during hardship. When someone reaches out with compassion, offering a hand or even a moment of kindness, it shines brightly in the darkness. Struggle magnifies the value of these gestures. In wealth, kindness may go unnoticed because it is expected. But in survival, kindness becomes a rare jewel. Being grateful for such gestures changes the way one sees humanity as a whole. Even when surrounded by rejection, those small acts of love stand out so strongly that they restore faith in people. The gratitude felt for them is not temporary. It becomes a lifelong memory, a reminder that goodness exists even in the harshest conditions. Experiencing life without comfort also shifts gratitude inward. A person begins to value their own strength, their ability to endure, and their resilience in ways they might never have recognized before. Struggle forces them to acknowledge the inner resources they possess: the determination to keep walking, the courage to face fear, the patience to withstand loneliness. Gratitude, then, is not only directed outward to others, but also inward toward the self. Appreciating one's own strength is a profound lesson that hardship teaches, a recognition that survival itself is a form of victory. Living with less also clears away the noise of comparison. In comfort, people often measure themselves against others, focusing on what they lack rather than what they have. Gratitude weakens under such conditions, replaced by dissatisfaction, but in simplicity, comparison loses its power. The focus shifts to survival, and the mind learns to find contentment in what is present. Gratitude flourishes here because it is no longer distracted by illusions of more, better, or greater. It roots itself in the immediate reality, in the now, and grows stronger with every small blessing that arrives. Hardship also brings gratitude for time. Each day survived feels like a gift, and every moment of peace is embraced fully. Instead of rushing through life in pursuit of bigger goals, one begins to notice the beauty in small details: the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the comfort of rest. Gratitude for these experiences deepens because they are no longer hidden behind layers of abundance. They are experienced directly, cherished in their raw form, and remembered with sincerity. Ultimately, gratitude born from simplicity and hardship is the kind that cannot be shaken. It is not fragile or fleeting, but strong and lasting because it is built on truth. When life is stripped down to its essentials and survival becomes the focus, every gift, no matter how small, carries immense meaning. Gratitude becomes a way of seeing, a way of living, and a reminder that even in the harshest of circumstances, there is always something worth holding onto with a thankful heart. Human connection and compassion hold a kind of value that no material possession can ever match. In a world often driven by wealth, status, and the pursuit of luxury, it is easy to forget that the essence of being human lies not in what we accumulate, but in how we treat one another. Struggle and hardship make this truth visible in the clearest way. When life strips away the distractions of abundance, when all that is left is the need for kindness and understanding, it becomes obvious that human relationships are more valuable than gold, and that compassion can mean the difference between despair and hope. The power of human connection lies in its ability to transform loneliness into belonging. In moments of hardship, a simple gesture such as someone stopping to listen, offering a word of encouragement, or even acknowledging another's existence becomes powerful. For those who feel invisible, being seen is a gift that carries more weight than money ever could. Compassion, when offered sincerely, has the power to heal wounds that material comfort cannot reach. It creates bonds that rise above social divisions and reminds us that beneath wealth, titles, and appearances, everyone is simply human. Compassion also carries the strength to restore dignity. In a society where people are often judged by what they own or how they look, those without possessions are treated as though they have no worth. Yet when someone reaches out with kindness, that act of compassion returns a sense of humanity that rejection tries to erase. A warm meal, a helping hand, or even a smile says more than words. It says you matter, you are seen, you are human. That affirmation is priceless, and it is one of the reasons compassion outweighs wealth. It touches not the body alone but the spirit, reminding people of their value even when circumstances deny it. True connection also teaches empathy. When people step outside their comfort zones and open their hearts to others, they begin to see the world differently. Hardship has a way of stripping down the walls between individuals and showing how much they share in common. Pain, hunger, loneliness, and the need for hope are universal experiences, and compassion builds a bridge across them. To extend kindness to someone in need is not merely charity. It is a recognition of shared humanity, a way of saying that we are bound together by more than circumstance. In many ways, connection sustains life in ways that money cannot. A person with wealth may buy food, shelter, or comfort, but money cannot purchase genuine love or authentic relationships. It cannot buy the feeling of being cared for, understood, or truly valued. Human connection fills a space that no material possession can occupy. In the darkest times, it is not wealth that carries someone through, but the presence of others who care. Compassion keeps the heart strong when everything else feels lost. Compassion also inspires change. When kindness is shown, it does not stop at one act. It often inspires the one who receives it to pass it forward, to show the same care to someone else in need. This ripple effect is far more powerful than any financial transaction because it spreads through hearts and lives, creating a chain of humanity that uplifts many. In communities where resources are scarce, it is compassion and connection that keep people alive, helping one another survive through sharing, supporting, and standing together. There is also a quiet strength in knowing that connection can exist even in the absence of words. Sometimes it is not about grand speeches or elaborate help, but simply about presence. Sitting beside someone in their suffering, offering silent companionship, or showing through action that they are not alone speaks louder than anything money can buy. That bond is unshakable because it is forged not in transaction but in truth. The measure of a life is not in how much wealth is collected, but in how many lives are touched. Luxury may create admiration, but compassion creates legacy. People are remembered not for what they had, but for how they made others feel, the warmth of kindness, the strength of empathy, the power of connection. These remain long after material possessions fade. This is why, in the deepest sense, human connection and compassion are of greater value than wealth. They nurture the soul, heal the broken, and remind us all of what it means to be alive together. True richness does not come from the weight of coins or the numbers printed in a bank account. It comes from the qualities that live within a person, the quiet treasures of resilience, kindness, and courage. These qualities cannot be bought, cannot be borrowed, and cannot be taken away by circumstance. They are formed through the trials of life, through the moments when survival requires more than resources and demands the strength of the human spirit. While money may open doors, it is resilience that helps someone walk through them. While wealth may bring temporary power, it is kindness that wins lasting respect. And while luxury may offer comfort, it is courage that allows someone to face the storms of life without breaking. Resilience is one of the greatest forms of wealth a person can hold. It is the ability to keep moving forward when everything seems impossible, to rise after every fall, to adapt to challenges that threaten to overwhelm. Those who possess resilience carry within themselves a treasure far greater than any possession, because it cannot be destroyed by loss or change. Where money may vanish overnight, resilience remains. It is forged in hardship, shaped by disappointment, and strengthened by struggle. A resilient person discovers that no matter how many times life tries to knock them down, they carry the strength to rise again, and in that rising lies a richness that no currency could match. Kindness, too, is a form of wealth that outshines material possessions. A single act of kindness can transform a life, offering hope where despair once lived. It may not cost anything, yet its value is beyond measure. To be kind is to give something of the heart, something genuine and irreplaceable. In a world where many measure worth by what they own, kindness redefines wealth by showing that true greatness comes from how much one gives rather than how much one has. The richest people are not those with overflowing bank accounts, but those whose hands are open to help others, whose words bring comfort, and whose presence brings light. Kindness creates a legacy that lives far beyond material success, because people remember how they were treated long after they forget the possessions on display. Courage is another treasure that makes up true richness. It is the force that allows someone to face fear, to endure uncertainty, and to step into challenges that others might avoid. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act in spite of it. Those who live with courage prove that real strength lies not in avoiding hardship, but in confronting it. They show that the richest life is not the one free from struggle, but the one that dares to face struggle with an unbroken spirit. Courage allows people to stand tall even when the world seems determined to push them down. It is a wealth of character that protects the soul and pushes it toward growth. Together, resilience, kindness, and courage create a form of richness that no material fortune can equal. They are qualities that shine in every situation, whether in times of ease or times of hardship. They guide people through uncertainty, inspire others, and create bonds that money could never buy. Resilience gives strength to endure, kindness builds connections of love, and courage pushes through fear to create new paths. When combined, they form a wealth so complete that it cannot be measured or stolen, for it exists not in the external world, but within the very core of a person. Real wealth is also proven in how it impacts others. A resilient person inspires those around them by showing that setbacks are not the end, but beginnings in disguise. A kind person softens the hardest hearts, creating waves of compassion that ripple outward. A courageous person gives permission for others to be brave, demonstrating that fear does not have to control destiny. The richness of these qualities multiplies the more it is shared. Unlike money, which diminishes when divided, resilience, kindness, and courage grow stronger the more they are given away. It is easy to be impressed by someone who wears luxury, but it is far more moving to witness someone who carries these inner treasures. Clothes fade, houses crumble, fortunes disappear, but these qualities endure through every season of life. They are not dependent on what a person owns, but on who they are and how they choose to live. That is why true richness is never about possessions. It is about the strength to endure, the generosity to care, and the bravery to face life honestly. These qualities define real wealth, a wealth that no material measure could ever capture, and a wealth that lives forever in the hearts it touches.